Just got done watching Warriors-Lakers, but I don't want to talk about the games just yet. We have to start with the presentation of the NBA on NBC. For the first time in 23 years, the NBA was back on NBC. The way they've been rolling it out, the broadcast teams they've been announcing, the pregame and postgame crew members they've been announcing, the former NBA players they've been announcing, more the younger-ish generation, or probably some of the people a little bit older than I am that are media members joining these teams. Can't wait to see what Amazon Prime looks like, but sticking with the NBA on NBC. Hitting all the nostalgic notes, rolling this out, playing round ball rock. See, the way the NBA on NBC did it, man, I have to say, this opening night was one of the more fun and memorable ones I've had in a while. I feel like the opening nights the last few years, it just doesn't feel grand enough. You know, Worldwide Wob on Twitter kind of illustrated a list of differences with the, NBA on TNT versus the NBA on NBC. And for those of you who are younger basketball fans, I was born in 1991, so I caught the tail end of the NBA on NBC, right? My core memories with the NBA on NBC was, the 2001 Sixers playoff run, where I became a Sixer fan because of Allen Iverson. That happened to me when I was 8 years old. And then they had one more year. It was the year the Lakers beat the Nets in the finals. And that was the final year the NBA was on NBC. That is my core memory and how I sort of, became a fan of the NBA at large. That theme music, of course, is stuck in my head. Now, of course, those a little bit older than me were there for more the prime days of the NBA on NBC. Probably if someone's like 10 years older than me, born in the 80s, that was the core, the 90s with the Bulls and all that. That was the core of the NBA on NBC, right? But I still had my memories with it. And when they queued up Round Ball Rock, bringing in the game with the announcer, it's the NBA on NBC. It's the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then Mike Tirico came in under the bed of the music. I was literally having chills all over my body. And it felt like my brain just took me back to when I was 8 years old watching that NBA season in 2000, 2001, and watching that Sixers playoff run, watching, the Sixers have a really tight series with the Indiana Pacers, watching Allen Iverson duke it out with Vince Carter, and then the Bucks, of course, and then my chorused memory, watching game one of the NBA Finals when Allen Iverson had 48 against the Lakers. They just hit all the right notes. And I bring up Worldwide Wob's tweet, going back to that. TNT was entertaining inside the NBA. I will always hold it in a special place in my heart. Really not looking forward to seeing how it looks on ESPN. I think it was one of those things where we should have just let it go and remember it for what it was, which was a very unique and all-time great sports talk show, especially post-game. But the on-court stuff did feel secondary. There was a lot of haterade from Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny. And it was, barbershop lunch table talk, which I can appreciate. And it definitely worked for a post-game show. But the pre-game, man, it just wasn't hitting in that same way. And the way NBC does its sports, how it builds up the product, how it builds up the people playing, how it builds up the importance of these games, is just far superior to ESPN and TNT. And that presentation made me remember the NBA on NBC when I first watched it as a kid, and they made everything feel grand. I mean, seeing how they talked about Shaq and how they would show Shaq highlights. As a kid, I would question, how are me and Shaq the same fucking species, right? Even as a kid, I was like, how are we of both this earth, right? The way they present stuff was just incredible. And then to get a banger of a game to open it up with OKC and the Houston Rockets going to double overtime. That was just icing on the cake. It was the perfect game for NBC to have on its first night having the NBA back. And then it puts ESPN on notice because there's going to be Amazon Prime, and I really like the team they put together over there. Of course, you know, NBC also has Peacock, so on Mondays they're going to be exclusively streaming 2 games on Peacock. And all of a sudden, ESPN is now in a spotlight where it's like, all right, we're really going to have fucking Stephen A everywhere for the 50th fucking time. The pregame and postgame coverage is just considerably different. And, you know, actually, one of the first things that crossed my mind as I was watching the Thunder Rockets game on NBC, which is still wild to say, it was basically, damn, the finals aren't going to be on NBC. Because that's another thing that I think has been missing from these finals the last few years, just in terms of presentation. And I've talked about this before on the channel, and others have too. And you're just looking at how NBC just hyped up ring night, the opening of a new season, the storyline of Kevin Durant coming back to OKC on ring night. Tarico, Jamal Crawford, and Reggie Miller had great chemistry. Crawford, by the way, he's going to be really good, man. He's going to be really, really good. And then you add pre-game, halftime, post-game with Maria Taylor, Carmelo Anthony. It was funny that he was dressing as if he was hosting his podcast while Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady were wearing suits. But, you know, Melo will make the adjustment. But it was good seeing those guys talk at halftime. NBC doing pre-interviews like Maria Taylor interviewing the big 3, Chet Holmgren, SGA, and Jalen Williams. They also did an interview with Michael Jordan at halftime. He's supposed to be a special contributor for NBC. I don't know if they're just going to slow drip feed us that same interview all season, but who knows? Hopefully Michael does make some content for NBC. That would be nice to see. Like, the way NBC did their shit tonight was just incredible. And they have great play-by-play guys. Like, Mike Tirico is legitimately a very good play-by-play guy. Noah Eagle is a rising star. You got Michael Grady on there. Just look at the list. I am very happy that the NBA is back on NBC because we needed a little bit more oomph in the presentation. And, you know, the last few years, I could just feel it on TNT. While Inside the NBA was still great as a post-game show, you could just feel like the heart wasn't in it. Some of the choices made during the All-Star games, that was weird. You could tell it was just one of those things where the contract negotiations were really just affecting the product more towards the end, too, I felt like. And now it's back in the hands of a network that really knows how to present its sports. And this is going to be fun. I'm excited. I had chills tonight. What did you guys think about it? I know I'm not talking about the game. I just want to talk about what I just fucking saw tonight, which was awesome. It was an awesome opening night. I felt like we haven't had one of those in a while, especially to get a instant classic double OT game where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is making game-tying shots. Kevin Durant is missing a free throw at the end of regulation and then calling a timeout despite no timeouts, but the NBA refs didn't see it and didn't reward him the timeout or the technical foul, which would have won OKC the game, or double overtime. Kevin Durant guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the game on the line. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pump fakes, baits Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant fouls him, fouls out, much to the happiness of the OKC crowd. Just absolute fucking cinema. And we're going to get a whole lot more this season. I can't wait.